Now everybody! How you all doing? Good? Excellent. So, first things first, I promise there'll be no suspension of any events this week. Certainly no proroguing. Welcome very much to the latest edition of Northcoders Graduation Showcase from the Manchester campus. It is an event on a Friday afternoon that brings you a unique combination of talent, tech, innovative ideas, and heat. So, for those online, and for those of you wondering why I'm talking into a microphone and there is no amplification, it is because we are live online. Hello, our live stream watchers. Welcome. Unfortunately, you don't get to sample that last part. If you're new here, if either this is your first graduation as a student or you're a hiring partner that's not been to one of these events before, let me just run through the format. We have two teams presenting today. They will be presenting their unique ideas and how they built those ideas. At the end of their presentation, there's the opportunity to ask them questions. If you're online, you can write those questions in the box below. If you are using social media, please use the hashtag #NCGrad. Housekeeping notices, there are no planned fire alarms. So if you do hear that, just follow the green signs down the stairs. And gentlemen's toilets are that way and ladies' toilets are that way. Right, before we begin, I need to bring up a very, very serious matter. A man that nobody online has seen before, because he's the guy that makes all of this happen from a tech point of view, is getting married later on this year. And today marks the start of his stag do. So can we have a round of applause for James, who goes on a stag do? Good luck, my friend, good luck. Excellent. Now, without further ado, let me introduce our first team today. They are called Our House.
Hi there, guys. Thank you very much for being here today, and please bear with me because I am very nervous, so apologies. So I'm going to give you a brief introduction of Our House. Our House is a property management application. This is aimed at private landlords and tenants, and the idea is to cut out the middleman being estate agents and property managers, and I'm all sure you're aware of how expensive they are. The idea was to allow tenants to communicate directly to their landlords and vice versa. We created functionality allowing tenants to directly talk to their landlord through live chat and also allowing them to be able to report any maintenance issues through taking pictures, 360 images, and so on. I'm now going to pass you to Niall, who's going to give you a brief demo of the app. Cheers, thank you.
Thank you. Hi, guys. So this first video is going to be a walkthrough of how the website works. And this is going to be a landlord logging in. He's going to add a new property, and he's going to add a tenant to that property as the tenant is moving into the house. Over here on the left, we have when the next round of rent is due, some information, and we have a property chat room, which will be talked about in the next video. Over here on the left, the landlord has created a new property. He submitted that information, and now he's adding a new tenant to that property. On submission, he'll be able to see some of the details of the tenants who live in the house through a selection. So he's going to log out, and in this next video, we're going to see from the perspective of a tenant. This tenant is going to log in, and he's going to be presented with a dashboard of information about his tenancy, and John, the tenant, wants to create an issue because he's found an issue in the house. He selects what room it is, gives it a brief description, and will go on to show what area in the house the issue is in. So this is our 360 bit, pretending this is our house, and those colors you saw were different areas on the wall, and we kept it to one wall just for this presentation. But that was the overview of how the website works. This next video will just show how the chat function works. In this, the landlord is logged in, and he's just letting everyone know that he's going to drop some furniture off at the house. Then John will log in and respond. Cool. This next video is going to be a short walkthrough of the app, and the app is very similar to how the website works. John is going to sign in on the app, roam around the app, and he'll be able to post an issue. As soon as he's posted that issue, it will be available to see on the website too. Cool, that's it from me, guys. Thank you. I'm now going to pass you on to Alan, who's going to speak about the tech stack.
All right, so this is our tech stack. I'll give you guys a moment to take that all in, because I'm just kidding. That's not our tech stack. That is our tech stack. Okay. Once we kind of came to an agreement of what kind of project we were going to make, we kind of split up and researched and spiked out new technologies that we want to utilize. The biggest challenge that we foresaw early on was how to incorporate VR aspect into our design. But in spite of this, we wanted to also challenge ourselves and learn new technologies. We went to test out all the knowledge that we'd accumulated over the first 9 weeks of the course, and bear in mind that all the technology that you see on screen now, only React is the technology. Only React is one that we have had any experience with prior to project phase. So having said that, I'm massively proud of what we've achieved as a group in such a short space of time. So back to VR. We chose C# in the end because we looked at something called Unity Engine to build the VR aspects of the design early on. All the documentation and tutorials that we looked at utilized C#, which is why we ended up going down that route. So the back end is built on Microsoft's ASP.NET Core. This, for those of you in backend on the course itself, this is Microsoft's equivalent of Express.js. So it manages the controllers, the models, and communication with the backend database. The backend database itself is an SQL server, which is hosted on Microsoft Azure's cloud computing platform. It stores the property details, tenant details, and also all the maintenance issues that we log from the front-end website. For authentication, we use Fire-based authentication to manage the tenants and landlord logins. And also for the chat functionality that you saw earlier, we utilized Firestore. So based on the scope of all the new technologies we had utilized on backend, we decided to kind of choose a solid foundation for front end, and we chose React for the website, since that was something we were all kind of comfortable with. But for the mobile app itself, we chose React Native and A-Frame ultimately for the VR aspects. So I'll pass you over to Michael, who will talk about the React Native and mobile app of.
So we decided to use React Native in order to create our front-end web app. We did look at other UI toolkits, but felt that with the time frame that we had, we felt that using React Native and the React experience we had would be a lot more transferable, because having only 2 weeks is not very, very long, especially with all the tech that we decided to use. We felt that using React Native would be best placed just because the docs for it are absolutely amazing. And to anybody that's going onto a project, I definitely recommend using tech that has great docs, because it's so much more helpful and it saves so much more time. We also went with React Native for authentication. So we knew that using React Native and implementing Firebase with it would be a lot less time consuming, because we were using the same sort of code for our React front end. We also had some issues. We had some problems with Android Studio. It was more so to do with actually trying to download it and put it onto our computer. And we spent actually 2 days trying to rectify this before we decided to give it up and go down another route. But my colleague James will go over this. Cheers.
So as Michael mentioned, I kind of took the lead on building our VR experience. So I chose to use a piece of technology called A-Frame, which is structured quite similar to HTML in the sense that you put things inside tags. and whatnot, which made it a kind of an easier transition than some of the other options like Unity. We also dealt with some challenges on during the projects. So our kind of immediate challenge was breaking our kind of big idea down into an MVP. So we kind of got together over a series of days and really boiled down that idea into something that we could do really well before we branched out and did other stuff. We had some issues where people would kind of get stuck in code and want to kind of keep plugging away at it when they weren't really making much progress on their own. So we got someone to sit with them and pair program. And that kind of fresh set of eyes really helped in breaking down those barriers. And usually issues were solved in just a few minutes that kept people stuck for quite a long time. As Michael alluded to, we did have some issues with Android Studio. And I think the other group did as well, which led us to choose Expo in the end. And that kind of hot reload feature and the ability to see the live updates of our code was really useful in development. On the subject of kind of working for long periods of times on one thing, we kind of needed to figure out and become comfortable with taking breaks when we were coding. Rather than trying to code for long stretches, we kind of made sure that we checked each other and made sure that we were taking the appropriate breaks. And in some cases, made sure that we were actually leaving and getting some sleep rather than just napping on the beanbags. And finally, we just had to take an ambitious idea and really try and distill it down to something that was realistic when taking into account our time frame and our required skills. I think we did that really well. I'm going to pass you on to Kate, who's going to talk about the lessons we learned.
Thanks. Okay, so I'm going to talk us through the project journey that we all went on. Yeah, it was pretty intense at times, but it was good. So I got some thoughts and feelings about how people felt going into projects, like pre-project phase. So at the end of doing front end, which I think some of you guys currently are, yeah, we felt enthused. Some of us felt a bit lost. Some of us were a bit like, what am I doing here? Like, how did I get to this stage? And then others, like, woohoo, project is great, it's exciting. So yeah, kind of a mixed bag of feelings going into it. And then we entered week one. So week one is a stage that I like to call hope/naivety. It's something you all experience. You go in and you're like, I can do anything. Like, I passed like the main course. I'm amazing. You are, but it's going to be hard. So yeah, we got some thoughts up here. So excitement, optimism, hopeful, and at home. And this is my jam part. I don't know if any of you guys have seen that Spider-Man movie where he's like walking down the road and he's like, we were like that. We were like C#, easy. Yeah. React Native, easy. Yeah, kind of be realistic with what you kind of want to achieve, which kind of takes us into week two, which was denial. We thought that we could take on the world, and we could take on some of the world, but we couldn't take on it all. So yeah, some more feelings. Fudge, for want of a better word. Shoot. Yeah, the list goes on. The why working mainly refers to Android Studio, which is, it took out 2 of our best men. It was pretty hard going, to be honest, but like we persevered and we got through it. So yeah, that was week 2, which was denial. And then from denial, we turned to acceptance, which was week 3, and has been my absolute favorite week in the whole of Northcoders. As you can see from here, like we're all sleep deprived. I'm shaking like mad because I literally am just like running on adrenaline at this point. We're all like so satisfied with what we've achieved, elation, proud. I mean, we came up with this incredible product, and I'm looking at you guys, I feel like a proud parent at this point. Like, we actually did something incredible, and yeah, it was really good. So yeah, acceptance. And moving on to our lessons. So the biggest and like the most important lessons for, I think, our team in general, collaboration and like coming together, having those daily stand-ups, sometimes having like 3 stand-ups a day, whatever you need to get through and whatever you need to like have that support from your colleagues, make sure you I don't know, you just speak about your issues. We were quite transparent with what we were struggling with, and we made it so that if anyone was a bit unsure or a bit uncertain or felt like there was too much pressure, there was like 2 of us that jumped straight on and were like, right, we'll help you out with this. And it worked really well because it meant that we all ended up having like a back-end experience and a front-end experience, so we got like the full stack. Full stack, cool. But yeah, so a couple of us worked with SQL and then React, and Firebase and React Native, and it was wonderful. And the next part, try to have, oh, no, not yet. Spoiler, you weren't supposed to see that. Yeah, try to have fun when you come to project and like be creative with what you want to like achieve. A lot of the stuff we spiked out, like the 360 stuff, the augmented reality, a lot of us are planning on meeting up after this and actually cracking down and like getting on with these projects because we have so much fun with it all and we're all super excited for like what the future holds. Before we do the spoiler thing, just want to say a massive thank you to our tutors, one of which is at the back, for like, yeah, Paul, we see you. Woo! Yeah, I know all of us are super grateful for how much time and effort and, you know, you put a lot into us and I hope we've made you proud and like shown you what you can get out of it. So yeah, massively grateful for all your help. And now we're going to show you something that we probably shouldn't, so hiring partners maybe look away. We went a bit mad and lost every single marble yesterday. Yeah, we thought we'd try and do an infomercial for it. I'm just going to let you watch and you can see. Thanks.
That is absolutely incredible, slick, funny, and I'm not just talking about the app there. Really, really well done. I have a question for you, but I will throw it out to the floor first. Who would like to go first with a question for this team? Anyone? Aha, hi.
Thank you. I've got two questions. The first one is, who came up with the design for it and the user experience? Because it's beautiful.
Ooh. Yeah, we kind of had a bit of help with the wireframe. He's probably watching right now, but my brother's quite good at art, so he kind of did the logo for us. Not sure I was supposed to say that, but hi, Jamie. Thanks. But yeah, the wireframe stuff we like drew out. The dashboard and stuff was all our own idea and stuff. And yeah. Does anyone want to say anything else?
Color scheme though, right?
Color scheme, yeah.
Key.
Cool.
I've got another question as well. The idea in itself is amazing. So are you actually going to try and take it further?
Ooh.
I definitely think it was something that we would love to take further. I think there's so many possibilities with it. For myself, I used to be a property manager, so I could see the benefit and financially for any landlord as well, how great it could potentially be. So personally, I would love to take it further and do more with it, but it depends on my great team. But yeah.
Okay, so I have a confession to make. I am an accidental landlord. I have one property that I bought 20 years ago that I rent out, not brilliantly. And if my tenants had this app, not only would it make it easy for them, but it would make it easier for me. So my question is, have you thought about pricing?
Are you going to invest?
Depends how well you answer this question.
I have no idea. Someone else take this.
I can't say we have, but if you'd be interested, I'm sure we could have a talk after.
No, definitely. I can definitely see a use for it. Right, anyone else in the room? Over here, we've got some questions.
Hi, I just wanted to talk more about the C# approach. How difficult was it to transition from, obviously this course is JavaScript oriented, and how easy it was for you guys to do, transition to a different language?
Yeah, so that was actually pretty difficult initially because we had to adjust our mindsets essentially to think in kind of object-oriented language. We started off kind of trying to build out the back end just using tutorials without really understanding the C# kind of fundamentals essentially, but we realized that wasn't really working, so we had to kind of start from scratch and just go through from the start fundamentals. We could kind of generally see the how the data flow was working from what we've learned during the course, but I think it was very difficult. We spent a lot of time going through tutorials, learning basically from the ground up again, and ended up building kind of like a simple web API from it, ultimately.
Cool. Anyone else in the room? Back here.
Hi. Just how did the team balance out? I know you said that you worked on the kind of 360 video stuff, but how did the team balance out who was responsible for different parts? Who was like Scrum Master? Did you switch around? Like who was responsible for different parts?
Yeah, so we kind of, it was, I don't want to say communist almost, but like we,
Nice.
everyone kind of had their own thing that they were interested in and wanted to pursue. And so we had our areas of expertise. And then from that, like if someone was a bit like, I'm having a bit of an issue with this afternoon, someone else jumped on, and then it would be a collaboration from then on. But I'd say pretty much everyone got at least like, everyone else had an input in what everyone else did.
Like through the full stack.
Through the whole thing, yeah. Does anyone else want to add?
I mean, I think you summed it up pretty well. We kind of, going in, we, to a certain extent, knew what we liked doing. And people generally stuck to what they liked doing, but then they adapted in order to help others through the process.
Nice.
Oh, there's more.
Shall I?
No,
I just wanted to add that I think all of us as a group, we wanted to kind of have the full experience of being able to work on back end and front end. I think you'll find with most Northcoders in general, everyone's quite motivated here. So we wanted to have an experience with almost everything, but given time constraints, we kind of had to almost silo out initially to work on, to kind of spike out the initial like back end and front end, and then when we got stuck, we kind of moved around after that.
Cool. Any more questions in the room before I see what people are asking online? One over here. Hi.
Hi, guys. You seem quite close together as a team, but what were the hardest parts working together? I mean, I've heard a lot of good things, but what are the bad things?
Honestly, I don't really think there was much. Like, we were super honest and super transparent with pretty much every decision that was made, every kind of issue that we were having. I think probably the hardest part was like listening to each other's advice. Like, there was many times when we'd be there at 9 o'clock at night and I'd be like, Alan, go home. And he'd be like, Kate, you go home. And yeah, it's like kind of mainly that.
Yeah, I definitely agree with what Kate's saying. There was so much support amongst us. I think there were times where there were slight disagreements, but I think we were just all very honest with one another. And I think that was so massively important for everything we did. So I'm proud of these guys.
Cool, amazing. Just a couple of points from online. We've got Frank Mike saying, go Kate.
Go Kate!
Wait, who's this?
Someone called Frank T. Mike.
Thanks.
Apparently.
Thanks, Frank.
And then you get to choose because we're running out of time. So Anthea has asked, what did everyone enjoy the most from the project? Or Shaq, oh, hold on. Mark Evans has just piped up. He's got 3 questions to choose from. Shaq, how did you find the transition from OOP to functional programming? And I think we should go with Mark Evans. Which framework did you find easier, if any, .NET Core or React? Mark Evans' question.
Definitely React. .NET Core took a lot of time to really understand because there's various frameworks that we could use. There was something called .NET, just .NET basically, not .NET Core. So that was a more simpler framework that wasn't cross-platform. That was more focused on Windows kind of systems. But .NET Core can be utilized over Windows, Mac, and Linux systems as well. So yeah, that's.
Brilliant. All right, final round of applause for our house. Okay, welcome back everyone, and without further ado, I will introduce you to real-time jobs.
Hello, Northcoders and friends. We are real-time jobs with Anna, Hugh, Madeline, Andrew, Mark, and myself, Solomon. Now, we are on the verge of graduating. I'm going to tell you how. Imagine yourself as an employer who's had a hard time finding competent temporary workers. Conversely, imagine yourself as a person looking for a temporary work but cannot seem to find any vacancies. Over the past 2 weeks, we have designed real-time applications to fit just that need. It's an app designed to help employers in the hospitality industry quickly and easily find applicants for short-term employment. The app helps to verify applicant suitability via real-time interview and is designed to disrupt the temporary job market. I'll now pass it over to Anna, who will run you through a demo of the app.
Hi, I'm Anna, and I'm going to talk you through a demo. Before we start, I'm going to point out there are 2 different demos running at the same time. This side is going to be the business. This side is going to be the applicant. So just make sure you look at them both. Okay, so we start off by clicking on the RT Jobs icon on both phones to launch the app. You can then select whether you're a business or an applicant, which will lead you to a login page. If you need to sign up, you go to Sign Up. It will take you to the sign-up page. You can fill it out. For this demo, we've already done that, so we're going to go back to the login page, enter our details, and go into the app. Okay, so first off, if you're a business, you're going to go into Post a Job. Within Post a Job, there's loads of different areas of a form that you can fill in. This will go on the application that the applicant will then see. At the bottom, you'll see there is an interview question section. There, the business can input any questions that they want to ask in the interview, which will become prompted later on in the app. The applicant can scroll through, view all the different jobs there are, and select Apply to select. To view these, the applicant can press on Applied, and the jobs can look at the applicants by clicking on Applicants. Both of them can then select Contact, and that takes them through to a real-time messaging service. So in here, they can organize a time for an interview. If there's any questions that they want to ask before actually doing it, they can do that here. At the top, there's a button that says Interview. When that is pressed, it'll take us to a real-time video chat where, you can see it working here, where the business and the applicants can see each other. The business side, you'll see the questions that they originally asked in the post jobs appear. They get rated on the answer, and these will appear later on when we go back to the applicant list. Okay, so back to the chat, and then back to the applicant list. You can see there's an interview score, and that's when the business can choose to either decline or offer the job. Back on the applicant side, when he gets round to it, we'll go back, view the application that he made, and he can click accepted. Once it's accepted, it updates on the business side, and both sides know then that is confirmed and what's going to be happening next. So now I'm going to pass it on to Mark, who's going to talk about our tech stack.
Thank you. So this is our tech stack. We decided as a group nice and early that we wanted to learn and experiment with as many technologies as possible. So this is everything we chose. It's worth noting at this point that the only thing on here we use during the course is Heroku. They've got a good reason for using that again, but everything else on here is new to us as of 2 weeks ago. So we've learned everything during the project. So we looked at initially at what we're going to use for backend and what language we were going to choose. We all had quite a good interest in learning Python, and we had a good check round to make sure this fitted what we wanted to do with the app. And once deciding on the language, that's what we decided to go with. As our framework, we chose Flask. We originally looked at using Django, but decided that Flask was actually quicker to get up and running, and therefore went with that. For TDD and testing the back end, we use unit test. They don't have a fancy logo, so it just says unit test. And that's pretty much our back end there. For database, we had a look around. During the course, we'd used relational databases, Postgres, and we're looking to do something a little bit different. We also wanted something that we could possibly do some real-time updates, and maybe using something that's cloud-hosted. So we went with Firebase Firestore. It's a NoSQL database. It's very flexible because it's NoSQL, so you can add things to it quite short notice, which is really handy during the project. So that's what we decided to use for our backend database. This led nicely for our authentications, all done through Firebase as well. There's two set together perfectly, so that was an easy choice on that one. For hosting our backend, we chose Heroku. We did actually look at some other options documented in the Flask documentation. When we spiked these out on how to go with them, they weren't quite as quick to get up and running, and therefore we decided that actually we knew what Heroku was like, and therefore chose Heroku for the hosting. When it came to the front end, we looked at lots of different options. So we looked at Vue, we looked at Angular, we looked at using Cordova with these. We knew we wanted to make a mobile app that was quite flexible, so we did a bit of research onto real-time video chat, and there was very little out there on these, but there was a lot of information, or seems so, on React Native. So we decided to go with React Native for our front end. This was quite different, even though it seemed quite the same to things we'd use in the course. Was a little bit more different than we thought. We used Android for development, Android Studio, and we also, the messages that you saw there and the live stream are powered by OpenTalk. We store all our messages in Firebase, and we're also running an OpenTalk server on Heroku as well. That is pretty much our tech stack. We also use Adobe XD for wireframing, and our final product looks pretty close to it, so we're quite pleased with that. But I'm now going to pass you on to Hugh, who's going to talk you through the challenges that we faced during the project.
Thank you. I'm Hugh. I'm going to talk to you about some of the challenges. First up, WebRTC, or real-time communication. This was our first choice in tech for the video chat. It initially built for the browser, but it looked like it had a simple enough React Native module. We had a lot of trouble integrating it with React Native, with compatibility issues between different versions of WebRTC, Gradle, and React Native itself. We got it just about working last Friday, but it was in a state that, as a team, we weren't really happy with, and so we decided to scrap it, and that was when we decided to use OpenTalk going forwards. So I talked about some compatibility, version compatibility issues we had. Another one of those was with React Native's gesture handler. So we install it, and we got a lot of errors. We can't sort it out, so we looked at the traditional resources of Google, Stack Overflow, and we've got nothing. Half a day goes by, and finally we noticed that about an hour before we installed it, it had a brand new release. We rolled it back, it worked perfectly, and that was the first release in 3 months. Another issue we had was with hosting our backend. It was working locally quite early on, but we wanted to make sure before we went too far with it that it was going to work while hosted as well. It built fine on Heroku, but it didn't work. We had to take it all the way back to literally 4 lines of code and just gradually increment on it. Every time we'd push it up, we would test that it was still working while hosting. It was time consuming, but I think we have a stable platform that was more easy to build upon going forwards. Another issue we had was literally laptop storage. Every time I installed a new NPM package, I had to delete something of value off my hard drive, just running out. Andrew had to sacrifice League of Legends just to install Android Studio. I think that's it for me. I'll pass you to Madeline, who will talk a bit about what went well.
Thank you, Hugh. Hi. So looking at what went well, I would start with the fact that we finished the app in time, and this showing proof of good time management. Alongside this, we took half day out to practice GitHub, understand it, and learn new commands before actually using it for the app we developed. This benefited us greatly, as we had no issues with GitHub during the project. I'm really proud to say that we showed to be a very adaptable team. The ability to shift focus was critical, and many of us were needed to on back front end and back end, changing sides even a few times a day. This helped us be on track with the plan and the plan we had in place. As a collective, this project taught us to debug as a team and work things out for ourselves. The key to all these was, first of all, good communication, stand-up meetings, sometimes a few times a day, Slack channels, and even meetings at the pub. We came to find out that there is no such thing as bad or good communication. Actually, there was no bad communication. Everything just only good vibes. As long as there is commitment, passion for coding, and if we look every time for the best in everything, things will always work out well in the end. I'll now leave you with Andrew.
Thank you very much. As you can see, I'll be talking about working strategies. We have followed an agile approach with our following tools. We have set up an online and offline Kanban board. This allowed us to work on-site and off-site. We also had daily stand-ups where we rotated a scrum master so everybody can experience how it felt being the master. We also spec'd out new tech, which also enabled us to decide on what we should use and what we shouldn't use. We also generated a wireframe and a user story. This enabled us to set up a basic layout for our back end and front end. Made our jobs a lot easier, so I do recommend that. We also went through testing through a TDD approach using unit test in Python, as Mark talked about briefly. And finally, we also did mob and pair programming, which helped us tackle difficult problems and it enabled us to share a lot more knowledge than we individually known. Thank you for watching our presentation. That is RT Jobs.
Okay, beautifully slick as well. Well done. Brilliant. Love the video. Love the real-time video. Right, who has a question in the room? Over here. Hello, Alex.
I see that you use like Firebase and Heroku. What was the choice to like use Heroku for hosting and not just let Firebase handle everything in like a serverless fashion?
So I think this was down to the number of endpoints we had when we looked at it. We decided that a RESTful API with Flask was probably the best approach. Yes, we could have gone that way, and we did consider it. But we also wanted a little bit more experience with Python. And by building it out, we got more experience that way as well.
Cool. Anyone else willing to put their hands up and ask a question? Paul?
Hi guys, great app. Did you look at using doing a website or iOS? I know it's Android based.
Yeah, so we looked at doing a website, but realistically, we thought this app, it's to be fast, on the go. We didn't really see the point in a website. We didn't think it'd really be used as much. Yeah, we didn't really see a necessity for it too much. You?
We chose React Native because we did plan to also build for iOS. This was for an Android. We put Android first because we just had more Android devices. And we haven't successfully got it to build in iOS, but if we were going forward, it's definitely what we would have done.
Thank you. Anyone else got their hands up in the room? Okay, we've got a choice of 2 questions. I'm going to go back to the previous questions, actually, because there was a, what's your dream sandwich? That was the Jan Meister. Shaq again. Some people prefer Python to JavaScript as a group. How have you found Python in your back-end code?
For the most part, it was easy to learn. So it's easy enough because it's also an object-oriented language like JavaScript. And the syntax is fairly similar too. But it wasn't difficult to the point that we would spend so much time learning it, we wouldn't have much time to implement it. And yeah, besides that, I would say JavaScript is still probably more useful because it's the primary language of the web. But it's a nice secondary language to have by
Any more questions? Let me just borrow that mic because I believe you might have switched it off. Back on again. There we go. Right. Time for one final question. Over here. Sorry. Up there. Right in the corner.
And from a commercial point of view, how would you monetize the app? Got to make some money.
Sorry? AdWords?
Yeah?
I mean, it's not something we considered for this bill, but I guess you could expand it to also control monetary transactions between the business and applicant, but that wasn't ever in our MVP or what we plan to build in the 2 weeks. But I guess if we were to continue, potential there maybe?
Yeah, good thing.
Thank you. The heat is getting quite unbearable, so I'm going to bring your presentation to a close. Well done, RT Jobs. So as I said, that brings the proceedings to a close. We have just a couple more things to do. All graduates who graduated today, please stay behind for your cohort photo. Hiring partners, if you want to pop into the project suite next door, we can organise some more drinks and the opportunity to speak to them once their photo is taken. Thank you so much for coming. Have a brilliant weekend.